In this video, I'm going to do the Christmas music tag, Ground Zero, an original tag. This tag was created by Renee at Beyond Books and Daniela at Uncommon Reader. Renee invited me to do this tag in the comments to her video. I'm just going to repeat what Renee said. Join me in my Holiday Hound as we start the Christmas music tag. This is Ground Zero for this original tag. Enjoy. The Christmas music tag. An original tag created by Daniela at Uncommon Reader. And I was tagged in a video by Pat at Book Chat with Pat when she did her responses to this tag. I'm just going to repeat what Pat said. This tag was created in honor of Renee's first Booktube anniversary. The Christmas music tag. An original tag created by at Uncommon Reader and by Renee at Beyond Books-WT-5IT. This tag is based on songs, carols, and hymns that celebrate the Christmas season. However, you do not have to be familiar with the music to do this tag. I'm going to do this a little differently than I've done tags in the past. I've not actually come up with my answers to this tag yet. Normally I do, and then I present them when I do the video. I did just watch Pat's video this morning where she did this tag, and there was a couple of things that came to mind when she was doing her answers, but I didn't have anything definitive. So at this moment, as I'm recording this part of the video, I don't have any definitive answers. I'm certainly not going to leave footage in where I'm sitting 10 minutes maybe trying to come up with an answer, but I'll cut that part of it out. But at this moment, I don't have answers. The first prompt is Joy to the World, a book that brings you so much joy you wish the whole world would read it. I don't really read a lot of books that bring me joy in the sense that I think this is asking. I tend to read a lot of dark books. They bring me joy in that I read them. After some thought, a book I came up with is Mrs. Nash's Ashes by Sarah Adler. Problem I have with this prompt is that I can't wholeheartedly recommend any book I read. Every book I read, I always come up with things that I think maybe certain people might not like to read. And this book has a couple of those too. There is a sapphic romance in it. There's basically two romances in it. A sapphic romance and another romance that is insta-love, and I know not everybody likes that trope. But to me, it is a pretty joyful book, a very nice romance. Well, two romances in it, actually. There are some sad parts, but I would say it's pretty joyful. Again, I can't think of a book I can totally recommend for everyone. I think there's something in every book I read that some people may not want to read. But this is the one that comes to mind. The second prompt is Let It Snow, a book that takes place in a snowy, cold environment. The book that comes to mind for this is Captain Hatteras' Journey by Jules Verne. I think I got the title right. It's close to that anyways. In this book, I think it's set around the 1850s, and it was at a time when the attempt was made to be the first to journey to the North Pole. And this ship had a mission to do that, led by Captain Hatteras. And they, in attempting to go to the North Pole, they travel through a lot of cold, snowy environments and actually had to stay in a cold, snowy environment through a winter, a rather difficult winter. So this is one that comes to mind. The third prompt is You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. A book with a mean character, one that you just didn't like. One character that comes to mind is the father in Juniper and Thorn. This book is set in a time when there is magic. There is magic, but its influence is waning. And the father has 3 daughters, and he basically keeps them sort of captive. They have to do various types of magic to get customers to pay for what the the things they do, and that's the way that the family makes their money. And they've kind of fallen on hard times. Second is a character in All Hallows. I'm just reading the book now. His name doesn't come to me, but I will put it in text in the bottom of this section. He's a lawyer who has got by on his life and charm. He cheats on his wife all the time. He's kind of not there for his family. He's just a very unlikable character. For some reason, I just can't remember the name, even though I was just listening to the book this morning. Another one that comes to mind, and I can't think of the name of this one either, although I have more of an excuse. I've had to put the book aside because of other books. In Iron Flame, there's this character. He's a general. He was out in the fighting the war in the book, but he supposedly he killed several prisoners while interrogating him, so he's been reassigned to the War College, where our characters are in their second year, our main characters. And it's reputed that when he interrogates people, he has a healer heal them and gets back in shape, and then he continues interrogating them, and that's just a very hateful character to me. The fourth prompt is Santa Claus is Coming to Town, a book releasing soon you can't wait to read. There's really not any books that I'm truly chomping at the bit to read, but there is a third book in the Fourth Wing series coming out, Onyx Storm, and I did reserve the special edition of that book, and even though I'm not too far in Iron Flame, the second book of this series, I am enjoying it, so I do look forward to the third book. And I think there's an Emily Henry book coming out at sometime soon too. So that's what I look forward to. I can't think of the title. I'll try to remember to look it up and put in the text at the bottom of this section of the video. The fifth prompt is 12 Days of Christmas, a book of short stories. The one that immediately comes to mind is You Like It Darker by Stephen King, a book I recently completed. That was a very good book of short stories. There are some other books of short stories I read recently. I'm currently rereading for the fourth time, in case of any of the stories, an H.P. Lovecraft collection, the Tales of H.P. Lovecraft. That's another book that comes to mind with short stories. There's one novella, but it's mostly short stories. The sixth prompt is The Little Drummer Boy, a book that brings back childhood memories. Some books that I read recently, The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. It was just a small section. This is a boy in the book Bear, and they just talked about him exploring in the woods and doing whittling and playing baseball and things like that, and that just brought back childhood memories for me. That's the one I can think of. All Hallows Eve, which I'm currently listening to now, I'm about 64% completed. That brings back childhood memories too. The book is set in the 80s, and as the title suggests, it's on Halloween Eve. Just kids trick-or-treating, and there's a section the kids go in the woods. They got some alcohol. They're doing a little drinking, things like that, which, I have to admit, I did some in my youth. I remember they had keg parties and stuff like that. So that makes me think of my youth too. There's a lot of bad parts in this book that I wouldn't want to have occur to me, but there are some kids in there, and just kids being friends and stuff and getting candy and things of that nature do make me think of my youth. The seventh prompt is Deck the Halls, a book that has a party scene or takes place during a holiday. Again, in this book, not to repeat, but it's just one that comes to mind, is All Hallows Eve. There is a party in this book, a Halloween party. And another one I think of is Halloween Party by Agatha Christie. You can tell by the title there's a Halloween party in that book. Another that comes to mind is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. There is, in fact, a party in that book. The eighth prompt is Frosty the Snowman, a book with a character who is cold and calculating. One character that comes to mind is Zayden in the Fourth Wing series. He's not cold and calculating toward Violet, or those he cares about, which is a kind of a smallish group. But in general, he's really cold and calculating in things he does. He is a very logical character. Another character that comes to mind for this is Severus Snape from the Harry Potter series. He's pretty cold and calculating. The series goes on, you see he's not unfeeling, and he is what he is for reasons which you can sympathize with him. I would consider him a cold and calculating character. Another one that is frequently cold and calculating, I think, is Hercule Poirot. Maybe cold overstates it a little bit, but Poirot in most cases will not let any sympathies get in his way of solving a mystery and bringing the perpetrator to justice. There are exceptions, though, when he does let them get away with it. There's a real famous example of that. Any Agatha Christie fan will know what I'm talking about. Won't say it here, though, in case you haven't read the book. It's, like I say, I may be overstating the cold, but he is very calculating, and you wouldn't be able to play on Poirot's sympathies if he knew you were guilty. Unless there have been a few exceptions, but he's another one that comes to mind. I almost want to say Spock in this one too, but Spock isn't really cold. He is very calculating, but it's just because he's half Vulcan, and he tries to live by logic. Sometimes the human side comes through. So in his case, it's more the calculating than the cold. Cold maybe would imply something that doesn't apply to him, but certainly very calculating. And there is a bonus prompt. And do you have a fun memory or interesting holiday tradition that you would like to share? It does not have to be around Christmas. It can be about any holiday you choose. It can be about any holiday you choose. Yeah, one really good memory I have, it's very vivid to me. Sometime in the middle of the night, I woke up to go to the bathroom. I was a real little kid then. I still believed in Santa. And I looked in on the living room, and there was just tons of presents under the tree. And I just remember that so vividly, all those presents. Another memory I have of holidays, both Thanksgiving and Christmas, my mother used to make a turkey dinner. And I'd be lying in bed, because she'd get up really early. And I'd be lying in bed, I could just smell it. It smelled so good. Smell of onions. There was turkey stuffing. The windows were steamed up. I just really remember that waking up to that dinner being prepared. Didn't know at the time how much work she had to put in to do it, but really just that turkey dinner we used to have on Thanksgiving and Christmas. Really remember that fondly. One thing I like to do in the lead up to Christmas is, a few times just drive around after dark and look at the people's Christmas lights. And in recent years, this is going to sound kind of funny, but there's a local park, and they set up these Christmas displays throughout the park, animals and various things, and it's gotten so popular I don't like to go there at night, but I like to go there during the day. Even though the lights aren't on, I like to go around and I take pictures of some of the displays and post them. So that's kind of a more recent tradition for me. People often ask, what's your favorite Christmas movie or movies? And I have to say I don't have any, but another tradition I do have, I like to watch traditional Christmas shows such as the Merry Christmas Charlie Brown, The Grinch, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Shows like that. And I also like to watch Disney Channel Christmas episodes on Disney Plus. That's kind of another tradition for me. I like to watch those shows. And finally, share the cheer, tag others, and have a very happy holiday season. So I'm going to tag a bunch of people. As I always say, if you would prefer not to be tagged, please let me know. If I forgot to include you, please let me know. I have a list, but when I know people have done this video, I remove them from the list and I might forget to bring them back. And the list is growing ever longer. And of course, it's only if you want to do the tag, part of it, all of it, a video or in my comments too. It's all up to you. But I'm tagging these people: Nigel at Reading Ideas-UZ9XK, John at Disquiet and Dragons-LH3ZM, Suey at Suey's Book Banter, Nix at Nix Reads, Philip Hall at A Poet Reads to Write, Kelly at Books That I'm Not Reading, Smitty at Book Smitten, Kayla V at Reading with Kayla V, Justin at Trumful Reads, Milana at Milano 8833, Fred at Read by Fred, Roy at Roy Reads Anything, Cliff at Cliff's Dark Gems, Nicole at Nicole's Bookish Nook, Jen at Literary Love 123, Flossie at the Grape Jelly Library, Maeve at Maeve_ever_books, I Lie at ilie.02. And besides these people, if you watch this video, please consider yourself tagged. If you like to do your own video, if you do videos or answer one of the prompts in my comments, I'd love to see them. I'll say this on my later videos as we get closer to Christmas, but I will echo what was said in the prompts. I hope you have a great holiday season. Thanksgiving if you're in the U.S. Or if you, whatever country you're in, you probably celebrate some holiday before Christmas. Hope that's a good one too. And I hope everybody has a great Christmas if you do celebrate Christmas. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, please subscribe, please hit the bell to get notified when I upload future videos. I hope you're having a wonderful reading week, and I hope you're having a wonderful week in general.